Well, it's a great day to dig into the top end of the Honda 400EX. I think this is video 4 on this thing. We've had it since maybe a week ago. As you guys know, picked it up for $1,100 and it has a smoking problem. We've tried cleaning out the carburetor, changing the oil. What else have we tried with it? Doing some other stuff, and it's not preventing it from smoking. So what we're going to do today is take off the top end and really diagnose this thing. We found out last video that it has 150 pounds of compression, which is plenty, so we know the rings are pretty good. I'm guessing it's either the valve seals or the oil rings on the piston. It gotta be one of the two, unless there's like something wrong with the valve or something. But I think that's one of the two. So we're going to be finding that out today. We've got to take off all the plastics. We've got to take off a bunch of stuff to get to the head and take that off. So it's a bit of a process. I looked up a couple videos on it, and I pretty much know what to do. So we'll start taking it apart and getting down into it. One thing I want to do before we start taking it apart is try one more thing. One person in the comment section suggested that we take off the air filter and see if that was causing too much pressure on the motor, pushing out oil. So what we're going to do is take off the air filter quick, take it for a rip, see if it still smokes. If it does, then we're going to start taking this thing apart. Alright, air filter off. Let's see if she still smokes. Keep a close eye on the pipe. Wouldn't that be great if that was the problem? Then we wouldn't have to tear into it. That would just make my day. Alright, let's see if she starts up here. Oh boy. Well, I'd say she's still pretty smoky there. Alright, let's start digging into it. Getting the plastics off here. Gotta get a couple more things off, and the pipe as well. Alright, next step. Let's get the carburetor off, and then this thing can come off. Alright, carburetor needs to come out now. Alright, let's take the bracket off the top, I think. That's the next step, this bad boy. Alright, let's work on the pipes now. Take the silencer off. Alright, I think we're all clear. Looks like everything is off of it. Looks like we have a couple 8 mils to take off. Right here. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11. So 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9. Yeah, I think 11 and then one in the middle. Well, that's not good. This guy busted off there. So already running into problems. Oh boy, not good at all. Oh boy. All those are off. We broke 3 of them off. This thing has never been taken apart for sure. That one broke, this one broke, and this one broke. There's nothing you could do to save those. So that kind of sucked, but so we're gonna have to try to extract those from the head here, which is gonna be an exciting time. But we'll see what happens here. We'll now take this cover off and see what those seals look like. Alright, let's see if we can knock this thing off of here. Alright, well that's off of there. Rocker arms seem to be in pretty good shape. No worn down edges or anything, so that's good. That is awesome. Alright, here are the valves sitting underneath these springs. So inside here, there's actually a double spring. There's a bigger spring, and then there's an inner spring. And in order to get the valves out, we have to push them out through the bottom. So that means the head has to come off, and that means this whole cylinder section has to come off. And we need a special tool to compress these springs so that we can get these little circlip things in here off. I forgot what they're called, those little clips in there. But yeah, then the valve pushes through, and then underneath this, there's actually a seal called the valve seal. So we need to take off this whole thing in order to get to the piston, the rings, and the valves. So what we can do is we can take the camshaft out, and to take the camshaft out, it's actually held on by these two Allen bolts right here. There's one right here, and there's one 180 degrees opposite of that. And if we can get that out, that'd be great. We're going to first loosen up the cam chain tensioner and take that out. It's sitting right here. It should be able to be taken out without taking anything else off. So it looks like two 8mm. Alright, now that the tensioner's off, we should have some slack in the chain. Yeah, so you can see the slack right there in the chain. Alright guys, cam is out of here. It's good. Now that the cam is out of there, we can start working on getting this cylinder off. Looks like there's 1, 2, 3, 4 big nuts we have to take off. Start working on that. This guy's a little tough right here. And there is a washer under each of those nuts, So just be careful when you're taking this off that you remember that washer right here. So there's a washer under each of these nuts, just so they don't drop into the motor area. So we got the head off of here. If you guys see this little guy, I don't know why there's a hair in there, that's weird. You see this little pin right here that comes out of there, that's the compression, the decompression. So just to make sure you guys don't lose that little pin, that's very important. So that goes right there. Then we have access to the piston. This is what everyone's been waiting for. Right there, look at that juicy piston. You can see there's a little bit of scratching on the top, not much though, wow. Piston looks really good actually. You guys can see that, right? I mean, it's pretty clean. Now the cylinder's gonna be coming off. Alright guys, I've worked with that for a while, pounding on either side. I didn't want to break off the fins and finally budge, so let's take it off. Alright, there's the piston. Access to the piston. See what that bad boy looks like. So far, so good. We'll have to measure the ring gap and all that good stuff coming up here. Let's just see what the rings look like here. It's hard to tell what they look like when they're on, but piston doesn't look too bad. Piston looks good actually. Huh. Alright, well, we got the top end of the motor off. Alright, we just took off the 2 rings. We took off 1 oil ring. We're going to take off the other 2. There's a really thin oil ring on there, or 2 of them, protecting the main oil ring. Alright guys, so we got everything laid out over here. We're going to go through each part individually. Let's start with the piston. So the piston looks good at the top. No really even carbon built up on it at all. Looks like it has a couple tiny, I mean they don't even, you can't even feel them from the spark plug. But the piston looks really good. It was in the correct way. No blow by really on any of the sides. I mean it looks really good. Probably one of the best looking pistons I've seen. The bottoms aren't scraped, nothing's scraped on it. Looks pretty good. Yeah, it looks really good. So the piston is good. A lot of people in the comments were saying that the cylinder was probably going to be scratched up here. One tiny crack right there by the piston, it looks like. Can't tell if that's a crack or what that is. Alright, on to the piston rings. So it's hard to tell without measuring the end gap on these guys, but there's no egg shape going on in here. It's the same length all the way around. You can see it's not thinner in some spots. So these are looking pretty good. They're not super thin in any spots. So far those are really good, and these 2 are both good. We've got the oil rings right here. Same thing, they look really good. Usually if they're bad, you'd see a really thin spot and then a really thick spot. But it's thick all the way around, it looks like. And then same with this one. See how it's thick all the way around? There's no thin spots in there. So that looks good, and this one's good. So I don't think it was the oil rings on this piston, which is interesting. A lot of people said it was the rings for sure in the comments section. But if you look at this, it does not seem like the rings. We'll measure the end gap when we put these in the cylinder right here and measure that distance, but so far they look good to me. Then we've got the cylinder. Absolutely 0 scratches going on in the cylinder. So smooth. 0 imperfections. So that's great. But yeah, it's smooth all the way around. Absolutely perfect. So that makes me happy. Alright, time for the valves. So this is where we might run into a problem here. Let's see. So on the top they look fine, you know, everything looks clean. But then we tip it over. Here we go, we've got a bunch of carbon built up on the valves. I'll get kind of a closer look here. Let's see. So you can see all the carbon built up. Just a lot of it. You can see, I mean, that has like 2 millimeters of carbon in the middle of it. This one's got a ton of carbon built up on it. And if you can look at the sides, 2 of these aren't closing completely because of the carbon built up. So you see how these are seating all the way in the cylinder, and these 2 are sticking out a little bit. I think that's what our problem is. You can see right there. See how they're raised up a little bit, and then these are just completely seated. So the valve seals are right underneath here. There's 4 of them. Thinking it's the valve seals. I don't think it's the rings. Leave a comment down below what you guys think it is. I'll quick measure the ring gap, and then we'll decide from there, but so far it's looking like it's probably the valve seals. Alright guys, after further inspection of the piston, I think we might have a potential problem. This little speck that I saw on the side right here, you guys can see that right there. I'll zoom in so you guys can really take a good look at it. This little guy looked like a tiny crack. When you push on it, you can see oil coming through it. Check that out. That's a big crack. I thought it was like a little tiny chip right there. But no, it's a fairly big crack, and it's going through the whole piston. Look at that. Holy cow. So the piston was about to crack in half. Man, we got lucky right there. Look how close that was to cracking in half. That's not good. So I think we have to replace the piston. Oh, it's on the other side too. Holy cow. Is that a crack? What the heck? Does it go all the way through? Let me check and see if that goes all the way through. It goes all the way through. Check this out. I don't know if you guys can see that or not. You can see the crack going all the way through this thing. Yup, right there. Check that out, it goes all the way through. You can almost peel this whole thing up. Look at that play. So this whole piece right here almost chipped right off. Alright guys, just checking out eBay for a 1999 Honda 400EX piston. Looks like they've got a bunch of different options here. They've got full top-end kits for the TRX 400EX for $73. They've got pistons for $40. They've got big bore kits on here. I mean, they've got a lot of different options, which is good. Alright, time to measure some ring gaps here. It says that the top ring is supposed to be, let's see here, 0.008 to 0.014. Let's see what that is. .014 goes in. The biggest gauge goes in, so that's probably not great. Second ring is supposed to be 0.014 to 0.020. A little bit of slop in there as well, so ring gaps are a little bit off here. Oil ring, it says, are supposed to be 0.008 to 0.028. Let's see what that is. Yeah, that's a huge gap. So the oil ring gap was bigger than the other gap on the other rings. So the rings definitely needed to be changed as well. So we need new piston, we need new rings, we need new valve seals, and I think honestly all three were the culprit in this. So that was interesting. All right, and then this is the other thing we have to deal with. You can see these bolts just cut right off when I tried to get them out. There's 3 of them that are stuck in there. So typically what you do with these is you take a washer that fits over those, you weld it to the washer, then you take a nut, and then you weld that to the nut. And then you take a wrench and you get them out. But let's just see. Yeah, those go all the way through there. So they're probably rusty on that end. Let's see, does that one go through too? Yeah, so all of them went through. So what we can do is let these soak with some stuff like penetrating oil and then come back and try to get those out. I want to give a quick shout out to People's Champ Productions right here on YouTube. They've got a funny video up about quarantine, so definitely go hit them up and subscribe to their channel. More to come on the 400EX. We've got to order up the parts, get that tool for the valve seals, and then we should be set to go to rebuild this thing. So stay tuned. That should be coming up, and hopefully we'll get rid of that smoke. So anyway guys, thanks for watching. Thanks for subscribing. Until next time, we are out.